when it comes to endless war, libertarians and progressives absolutely agree that it is pointless. And they both agree that the primary cause of this is the military-industrial complex, which makes up such a significant part of our economy in the flyover states, in places that don't have major cityscapes, that have economic opportunity, especially when we talk about centralized planning versus decentralized planning. That's a whole big can of worms to talk about. Danny, you know it well, living in Kansas. I think that this is something that we can win on, because you are seeing that movement happen in the Democratic Party, where a lot of people are starting to run against these entrenched, war profiteer bought incumbents. We do not see it on the political right.
We'd like to.
We would. And I think seeing more of that non-corporate conservatives, there's so much to conservatism that makes sense. Not crony conservatism, which is what we have now, or crony liberalism, which is what we have now. And so if we can get to that consensus that that's where we need to go, I really think that that is how we break the stranglehold of the military-industrial complex. Libertarian right, progressive left need to form this cohesive alliance. Not going to agree on everything, but when it comes to these monumental issues here, we do agree. And I think that's where we can have a big coalition build. What do you think?
I have to throw a shout out. We do have a few conservative congressmen, or you call them conservative, but you got Thomas Massey in the House.
Okay, sure, yeah, okay.
Thomas Massey, but he would probably be called a libertarian. But what he really is straight up honest. He just calls it like it is, and he votes it like he believes. Of course, we had Ron Paul for some years.
Oh, and his son is nowhere near. No,
it's a sad thing. He's okay. I mean, I'll take him in the absence of, when the alternative is nothing. But yeah, I mean, we have had people that are principled and kind of get this. And the reason that you got your progressive left and your libertarians, but in the middle, there are a lot of people that don't like war.
Yes.
And they wouldn't call themselves maybe lefties or libertarians, but they don't like war. They see it as pointless and wasteful and environmentally destructive, which it is, all those things, and expensive and all that. But those folks respond well to truth, to stories that are true from the heart, and people that'll listen to them and don't call them names right up front, because we've gone through this terrible Trump-Clinton battle and anti-Trump, pro-Trump, and it's really something that the military-industrial complex loves, because we're fighting each other instead of looking at what the real problems that are destroying our country and have been for a long period of time. See, that's the other thing. I'm older. Well, maybe Dennis. I might be. I think I'm older than you, Dennis.
No, I look at you by. No, I'm just kidding. I think I may have you by a couple of years.
Okay. I just like having people on older than me. It just makes me happy.
Well, this stuff's been going on for a long time. This stuff's been going on for a long time. It's been evolving for a long time, and it's just like this exit out of Afghanistan. If you've been studying it, you would give this thing an A+. This is about as good as it could have gone. And 5 more days, keep our fingers crossed, pray it'll be all right. But if you only looked at it yesterday or 10 days ago, you're freaking out. This destruction of our system in this country, our political and economic system, orienting it around war, around blood money, is so locked in. I mean, Eisenhower, this is all with the Eisenhower group. I mean, Eisenhower kind of saw it, and that was close to 70 years ago. So we're near the end. We're at the popping point. We're at the breaking point. And a lot of people are going to be really surprised. They're going to go, oh my God, I just started. This is terrible. What's happening? Wait a minute. We've been working on this for 70, maybe longer, ever since World War II, really, ever since Korea. We've been working on this military-industrial complex, locking it in politically, making sure both parties will do what we tell them, not what they believe in their heart to be true, to be right. So it would be good to help maybe have older people on, or just have younger people that read history and put this in a perspective to prepare people. And this maybe I'm crazy. I think we need to prepare people for what's coming, because what we have right now in environmental terms is an unsustainable system. It is dangerous, deadly, it's expensive, and it cannot last. And when it breaks, people will get hurt, just like people in Afghanistan are getting hurt right now.
I want to leave the last few minutes to Danny, because we all like to hear Danny talk. And but I just want to say 2 minutes. I know we're running out of time. If you can hear me, okay. But what I like about this, if you look at Karen and one of our other colleagues, Larry Wilkinson, and I don't want to talk politics, but he's a Republican. Karen is a libertarian. I call myself an independent Democrat. The first time I ran as an independent. The last time as a Democrat. But you took my thunder, Karen, because the key word is truth, honesty, and being ethical. And if we have all that, we can bring it all together because, to be quite frank with you, the old verse, money is the root of all evil. And so we can get over that and come together as you all are doing here, bringing the three of us together. We know this is a start where we come from different political parties, but we're trying to operate on probably the root of all of our problems is military industrial complex and the selling of weapons around the world. And that is a part of it. And I just want to thank you all for letting me be a part of this panel. And I'm sorry, I got a little emotional and I talked really fast because I'm passionate about this. But what really drives me, sadly, is we talk about our country, but my primary focus on the enlisted men and women, the young officers that we send off to these endless wars, and they have to suffer for the rest of their lives along with their family members. So once again, thank you for allowing me to be a part of this panel, and look forward to doing this again.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just thinking we could have a whole discussion on how I think our military is our jobs program and how people come out of high school and have nothing better to do with themselves, and especially poor and vulnerable and people of color that end up basically going that route because it's what's offered. But that's a whole other. We had Isaiah James on who was running, and that was one of the things he said is he served because he didn't know there was another option for him.
And that's why I joined, back in 1975. I joined from Fayetteville, North Carolina, because that was the way out for Afro-Americans to go into the military, sadly.
Right. All right, Danny. Now, I have personally listened to you speak for about 24 hours and change in listening to the audiobook, but it was really good. And shout out for that. People, check it out, True History of the United States. I think we should have history refreshers as requirements, all of us, because what we were taught as kids is not what is so. Right. I mean, and especially I'm assuming that Dennis and Karen, when you were in school, it was probably even less real. But yeah. So Danny, if you want to wrap, that'd be great.
Sure. Well, I will. These are dark times, and they have been. And what happened today and what's been happening in the last 10 days has been pretty seriously emotional. And I don't want to speak for Karen and Dennis, but I bet you I'm not wrong when I say, because I'm dealing with my veteran circle, right? For good or for bad or for my sins, I run with a group of people who served. And when Kabul fell and when something like today happens, my phone blows up. And it's not always Australian cable TV, which just happened, but it's people checking on each other. People I haven't heard from in years sometimes. And it's hard. And these are dark times. But you know what? Sometimes you need a little bit of levity. And you mentioned that there needs to be a progressive and a libertarian alliance. And as funny as it sounds, I used to have like a line when I used to have to go to DC for one event or another. And I would say, my rule is never have a second beer with a libertarian or a Marxist. Right? I say that as an insufferable myself. But the truth is that I've always, I guess I'm kind of on the left. I mean, that's where I would fall. But I've always been big on the libertarian circuit from the start. In fact, when I first started this, it was the libertarians who would like, come on our show. I was like, a show? People want to talk to me? And that's where it started. And that was always interesting to me. So this budding alliance has always been there. It was there when I was still complicit in wars that couldn't be won that I should have gotten out of. It's been there a while. And it does tie to the military industrial complex. And what happens, and I think Karen's right about this, the real owners of this country, to steal from George Carlin, one of his best bits, the real owners, not the politicians, they're for the illusion of, that you're in charge. The real owners, the blood money, the people in Northern Virginia, the real winners from these wars, they want us divided. They want us divided racially. They want us divided politically. They want the libertarians to be at the throats of the progressives. They want you arguing tax policy while the empire rolls on. This is not to say that those aren't important arguments, but I will say the empire will destroy us. Empires in decline behave badly, historically and conceptually. This is true. Let's table the argument of what we're going to do with the savings from $1 trillion a year on death until we end the wars. Let's have the conversation, but let's work together until then. We worked with the Soviets to win World War II, and then afterwards we worked all that out. It didn't go so well, and that's problematic. But think about what I'm saying here. If you want tax cuts and small government, you need to not spend $1 trillion on empire. If you want subsidized college and universal health care, you need the empire to stop spending $1 trillion. We have to be the only society on the planet, we are, that takes its wars down by massive percentages. We've really de-escalated the number of troops, at least, that are overseas, and our Pentagon budget is going up this year. Not only is it going up, it's going up $25 billion more than the military asked for. Listen, the military is not afraid to ask for a lot. If you're giving them more. So my point here is, and I think I've said it before on this show, I've said it before on others. If you want tax cuts, you got to cut the military spending. If you want universal health care, subsidized child care, you need to cut the Pentagon budget. And it's those trade-offs, it's those opportunity costs that make war a kitchen table issue. It should be a kitchen table issue for ethics. That doesn't always penetrate. It's hard to see. People are struggling. I'm not even judging. But that's why I said, if we're going to live in an advertising culture where everything is corporatized, then the DOD needs a new slogan. So whether what you want is tax cuts or whether what you want is subsidized college, the new slogan ought to be DOD, this is why you can't have nice things. So let's get the libertarians together. Let's get the liberals together. Let's get, I don't care who together, and stop the indecency for strategic reasons and for ethical reasons. And that has to happen. And it's there. The votes are there.
Yeah.
And I'm just glad to be here. I watched Karen's documentary, Why We Fight, when I was still in, and was like, wow. And Larry Wilkerson was in that.
I'm going to have to go check it out now.
And so these are not just literally my elders and people that I was sort of watching way back when I was first questioning this stuff. So I'm just happy to be here, work with them. And I love this show and I love you guys. And thanks for having us.
Thank you. You are hands down one of my most favorite people we've ever had on this show. And of course, I've listened to you longer than I think I've listened to anybody ever in an audiobook form.
I'll help you.
No, it was great. And in fact, it's one of the reasons the only time I'll really do audiobook is when it is the author. Otherwise, it's kind of weird to me, but I really appreciate it. And I really appreciate people that have served, that are not gung-ho, go red, white, and blue, and recognize that imperialism is not necessarily the way to go. And I do appreciate that. And it's really nice to have that other narrative.
One of the most rewarding things that we did when Jen ran for Congress in 2020 was go and volunteer at the Veterans Nursing Home.
We did until COVID, and then they weren't letting anybody come in. But we were going to the Veterans Nursing Home, and it was really, I think that was very rewarding.
And it's amazing how much they just appreciate you wanting to hear their stories.
Yeah.
And because it seems like no one cares. But when they are good for business, everybody loves them. When they're not good for business, you could drop dead for all we care.
Yeah.
And that's the reality that has set in for so many people. It's no different than fighting the VC in the jungle and not being well adapted to not only the surroundings, but understanding that much like what transpired in Vietnam is transpiring in the Middle East, these people will die for what they believe in. We are not a martyr country that is, trying to change ourselves. We're trying to change others who don't want to be changed. But again, it's all a ruse.
Well, that and pillaging their resources.
Yeah,
sure.
true.
I mean, let's be real, if Afghanistan didn't have natural resources, we wouldn't be as interested in it, or Venezuela, or anywhere else for that matter. We don't care. We don't care about Haiti because they don't have any. Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.